Welcome to the bassoon. Haha. Hi guys, I'm Mr. Y. This is obviously an introduction to the bassoon. You should have in front of you a sheet that says "Welcome to the bassoon" on it, and that's what I'm going to be referring to throughout. So you'll want to have that with you. Just a couple things before we get started. I'm assuming that you already know how to put the bassoon together. It is a fairly long and convoluted process, which I should have showed you in class, but if you need a refresher on that, I would refer you probably to YouTube. There's many different assembly videos that you can check out. Make sure you have good cork grease and everything. Make sure you're very gentle putting it together because it is a very fragile instrument despite its size. The longer the keys are in an instrument, the easier they are to break really and bend. And so you need to be very careful when you put things together. Also, of course, when you put it together, you're going to be using the seat strap. You can see here I've got my seat strap right there. This is the way you hold the bassoon up. You cannot be holding it up with your hands. You're going to be needing those hands for all the different keys and so on, of course. So you can't hold up the bassoon with your hands. You need to use the seat strap. Some people have used a neck strap before, but I don't really recommend that. I think the seat strap is best. You can adjust it so that the reed comes exactly to your mouth where you need it. Remember, you don't want to be bending down to get it or reaching up to get it. You want to have it come right to your mouth. The reed on a bassoon, of course, is a double reed. It's got a cane on both sides. And when you use the proper embouchure, you know, the nice flat chin and the nice tight lips here, you should be able to play a good sound just like that. Okay? When you put the reed on the vocal, of course, and by the way, this is where you tune the bassoon as well, when you put the reed on the vocal. We can worry about that later when you're in the band, of course. But when you do play the sound on the instrument, that's the sound you get. I love the sound of the bassoon. I think it's a great instrument. The reed, by the way, can really vary your pitch an awful lot. I mean, when you play it just by itself, you can hear that. You have an awful lot of variability in the pitch just from your embouchure, which means, really, number one, you can be really in tune with the bassoon. That's a really good thing. But number two, it also means that you need to have a nice firm embouchure or you're going to be out of tune all the time. I really suggest that you work with a tuner a lot, too, when you're playing. You know, after the very beginning stuff, you want to be working with that tuner to make sure you're keeping everything nice and centered in tone. As far as how to hold the dumb thing, now there's a couple of things that you need to worry about. First of all, probably the most important key on the bassoon is this guy right here. It's the bottom one of these four keys that you play in the back. You play it with your left-hand thumb, and it's called the whisper key. It's kind of like a reverse octave key. That's the way I think about it. You're going to be pushing it down in order to make the notes play low. It's kind of backwards on like on a clarinet or an oboe or a saxophone, where you push the octave key in order to make the notes go up to the next octave. This is kind of backwards that. You push it down to make sure the notes stay low. So it's a little bit awkward at first until you get used to it. Right now, that's the only thumb key you're going to need on your left hand. The right hand thumb key, we're going to use some other ones later. But for right now, this is the only one you're going to need. You can see there's a lot of them that you do play here with your left thumb. But for right now, like I said, this is the only one we're going to use. As far as the front of the instrument goes, you can see there's a hole. That's where your first finger goes for your left hand. Another hole for your second finger. And then your third finger is that paddle key right there. Okay. On the right hand, we also have a hole, and then a paddle key. So kind of the same deal as up top. When you go to start playing these, first of all, the notes in the bassoon are in the bass clef. So if you've never read bass clef before, that's going to be a little tricky at first. You can see on the sheet here, I've got a little key down at the bottom as far as the lines and spaces go. It's a slightly different setup than the treble clef, of course. Treble clef, you know, you've got the empty coverage before it had flips for the lines. In the bass clef, it's G, B, D, F, A. Some people like to use the mnemonic Great Big Dogs Fight a lot. I don't know. There's many different ones, of course. Once you get them learned, though, you don't really have to worry about that. And the space is A, C, E, G. Now, having said that at first, you're only going to use the first three notes. What I've got is I've got a couple of easy songs set up for you. So, for instance, the old favorite, the very first line, Hot Cross Buns. All it is E and D and C. And you can see that it's your first three fingers on your left hand. So the E is just one finger, the D is a second finger, and then the C is the third finger. You are going to have your left hand thumb key down on the whisper key this whole time too. Okay, you do need to keep that. So you do articulate the reed the same way as you would do on a clarinet or a saxophone or an oboe. Use your tongue to ta, ta, ta. Release the air behind your lips while you're playing, of course. So that's Hot Cross Buns, of course. You're going to want to start there and practice that an awful lot. The second line here is just Good Night Ladies. And we introduced two new notes in this one. First of all, there's an E and then a C. You already know those. But then low G is what I call the 3 and 3 fingering. 3 fingers up here and 3 fingers down here also. So that's the low G. Again, we still have your whisper key on, by the way. Okay, we're keeping that on for this whole page. Well, with one exception later on, you're going to see. But anyway, E, C, and then low G is all 3 fingers down here. Okay, there is one other new note on the second song too, on the second line of the second song. You can see the F there is just your whisper key, so just the whisper key in the back with no fingers on the front. That's the low F. Sorry, that's the high F. It's kind of a medium F actually on the bassoon, but goes something like this, of course. Fairly simple little song to be able to play, but again, it adds a couple of new notes. You're going to want to cycle through that one, practice that one a bunch before you get to the next one. On the next song, this is just Mary Had a Little Lamb, the next 2 lines, and the only new note is the high G at the end of the first line of that. High G is what's called, well, okay, it's 3 and 3. It's still 3 fingers here and 3 fingers here, just like low G, except now you're going to half hole it. What that means is the top finger here, what you're going to do is you're going to roll it down just a little bit so that part of the air comes out of that hole. It's not completely uncovered, but it is partly uncovered, basically so a little air can leak out, and that makes the note jump up from a low G to a high G. Check it out. Once you get the feel for that, it's not all that hard. It is a little awkward at first, but the song itself is really pretty easy. Yeah, that's better. And then again, we're mainly just using E and D and C plus that one high G, the 3 on each hand plus your half hole with this finger. The last song on this page, of course, one of my favorites, Pop Goes the Weasel. It is in 6/8, so be careful about that. But there's not really any difficult stuff here. There is one new note, the high A on the second line. You can see where I wrote it there. It's 1, 2, and 3 plus 1 and 2 on this hand, not 3, but just 1 and 2. Plus, for this one, for the first time, you're going to pick up your whisper key. When you get up into the high range, you pick up your whisper key, your thumb on your left hand. So for that high A, it's just 3 fingers, 2 fingers without your whisper key. You can hear I can make it go down low if my lips are too loose there too. You do have to tighten up your lips a little bit to get the high notes. Okay. Ah. I gotta practice that a little bit. The ending there is that A. So it's a little bit awkward with the fingers at first. Like I said, on this page you're going to want to go really slow and get this really down, each line really down before you go to the next one. This is the bare bones of the bassoon. So once you get the basic handling of it down here in the assembly and all that kind of stuff too, then we're going to go on to page 2, which does get you into keys that you can use in the band, the E flat and the B flat and that kind of thing. This is kind of the bassoon with the training wheels right here. So you want to get really, really, really good at this before you take the training wheels off and go to the second page. Second page is going to be another video, so watch out for that. I should have it posted later today. Good luck.